Okay, Jake Humphries, NRL Round 10. That's what we have coming up. Let's talk about the NRL season results to date. We've got it all documented, and I'm going to go through it right now. So, the season results are, right here we have rounds 1 to 3 plus 3.59 stakes. Round 4 plus 1.58 stakes. Round 5 plus 5.4 stakes. Round 6 plus 16.68 stakes. Round 7 plus 7.77 stakes. Round 8 plus 0.77 stakes. And round 9 minus 8.7 stakes. So we're coming off what is easily our worst week of the season. And basically the only thing we can do right now is bounce back. And it's a perfect situation this weekend. There's some strong plays for me to bounce right back. I love doing it. There's nothing that feels better than getting some picks in, some winners in when your back's up against the wall. And I've got no doubt that's going to happen this weekend. Hey, let me know if you want to jump on board. Message me 0434 374 591. Message me, email me, jake.humphries@live.com.au, contact the page Platinum Sports Picks, however you want to contact me to get on board and join what's a really good movement right now, Platinum Sports Picks. We're doing quite well with the tennis right now. We've got NRL picks coming, and we've got the NFL season approaching, and we had an incredible NFL season last time out. So right now I'm going to get into the round 10 NRL tips. This is going on the public page. This is going to be accompanied with a card in case you don't want to listen to the whole thing. But I'm going to post this here so you guys can listen to my thoughts on the game. And basically, my thoughts on the games and my thinking process throughout everything. First thing I will let you guys know is I don't have a pick for every game. Last week I realised that I forced a couple of plays and we paid the price for it. So this week I'm only, sending out picks for the games that I'm really confident on, and the ones that I'm not too sure about I'm going to leave out. I'm going to talk to you about every single game, but I'm not going to send out a pick for every single game. So here we go, the first game. Tomorrow night, 7:50 at Jubilee Oval. The St George Illawarra Dragons, who are coming 11th, are playing host to the Canberra Raiders, who are coming 7th. Now, basically, we've got the Dragons opening as a $2.25 home underdog. The Raiders are $1.67 coming in on the road. Both teams, I believe, are relatively unchanged from last week. And if I can just have a look at these lineups for you now. A lot of people know, a lot of rugby league fans know, that the Dragons have traditionally had trouble beating the Raiders. Specifically when they go and play them in Canberra. You probably all heard of the Hoodoo. They were winless there for 10 or 15 years or something like that. The Dragons have actually won 2 of their last 3 games against the Raiders. Actually, check that, 3 of their last 4 games against the Raiders. But before that, they lost a bunch of games straight. Now, I do look into mutual meetings quite a lot when I'm picking, but I don't think that the Raiders losing 3 of their last 4 games against the Dragons is going to affect them much here. If you look at the Dragons lineup, Adam Quinlan and Jack DeBellin are both out. Jake Marketo, Joel Thompson, and Tim Laffey come back into the team. So they do get quite a lot back with Joel Thompson and Tim Laffey, but they do lose a lot with Jack DeBellin, who is probably their best forward right now. The Raiders are unchanged from last week where they lost by 1 point to the Panthers. I thought the Raiders were a little bit sloppy. Not the attacking style of footy that we're accustomed to seeing, but you've got to give some credit to the Panthers too because they are playing a really good defensive brand of footy this year. So the pick that I'm rolling with here in this game is just the Raiders to win head-to-head. And that you can get the odds for about $1.60. I'm going to have a look at $1.60. $1.70. I'm going to have a look at what I've quoted here. And it's going to be $1.70 for 3 stakes with William Hill. Now, I'll tell you why I think the Raiders are going to beat the Dragons here. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you it thoroughly. I'll explain it to you. The Dragons are 4-5. The Raiders are 4-1. Now, the Dragons, what they're known for doing well is playing defensive footy. Right? They've got quite a good defense, and if they match up against a team that isn't capable of scoring a lot of points, they are able to hold them down to a low total and sneak wins in. They did it against the Panthers. They did it against the Bunnies on a really wet track. They did it against the Titans And their other win, if I can just have a look right now who their other win, they did against the Roosters. So, in all of their wins this season, their opponent hasn't scored over 20 points, right? So if their opponent scores over 20 points, the Dragons don't win any games. And I'm just looking at that again. Yeah, that's a stat. It's correct. I'm just scrolling through just to make sure. But if the Dragons' opponents score over 20 points, they lose the game. And the Canberra Raiders have a very, very, very good attacking team. They've scored 217 points in total this season, which ranks fourth in the entire competition. And they're frequently putting up 20 points per weekend. I think that they've failed to score 20 points on two or three occasions this year. Let's call it 3 occasions now looking through. So on 3 occasions they've failed to score 20 points. But I do think that the Raiders' attack is very, very good. They've got a lot of good players on their team. Josh Papali, Jared Croker, Blake Austin, and they're all playing. They've got a really good forward pack who provide a lot of quality go forward. And I think that if the Dragons are required to score 16 or 18 or 20 points, they're not going to be able to beat the Raiders this Friday night. It's just simple. The stylistic matchup doesn't work well for the Dragons. If the Dragons play teams who can put points on the board, they will not win the game. They played the Warriors last time out who put up 26 points. They lost. Okay, they played the Cowboys, they played the Broncos. All these teams who are capable of scoring points, they've played against them and they haven't been able to win. And that's what's going to happen on Friday night here. I don't care if the Dragons are a home team. I think the Raiders lost last weekend. They're a bit of an up and down seesawing type team. So if they lose one week, they're liable to come out and win the next week. The Dragons have a historical run of success. The Raiders have a historical run of success against the Dragons, and I think you're going to see that in this game again. I think you're going to see a Raiders win on the back of some attack, and the Dragons really. I like the Dragons, but I only like them in certain situations. As a whole, I think the Dragons are a tough team. They're well coached. They play a good defensive style of footy, and they can be fluent when they're attacking. But they can score 18 to 20 points this weekend, and that's going to be a really good attacking outing for them. But that's still not going to be enough to match what I believe the Raiders are going to bring to the table. The Dragons have failed. The Dragons have scored 3 second-half points in their last 3 matches. I believe that's the statistic. And if they come into this game thinking they can win with that kind of output in the second stanza, they're going to come up short, and they're going to come up well short. I think the Raiders are going to win this game something like 26 points to 12 or 24 points to 14 or something like that. I think the Raiders are going to be too good attacking, and their forwards are just too big. Shannon Boyd and Paul Vaughan are much bigger than anyone that the Dragons have, barring Russell Packer. He is a bench player, however. The Raiders are a very well-rounded team, and I think you're going to see that. You've got BJ Leilua and Jordan Rapana, who are hot to trot on that right-hand side. I don't think the Raiders are going to have too many troubles against the Dragons, and I love them. 3 stakes is my top play of the week. That's how I'm starting things off. The second game, Friday night, Parramatta Eels versus South Sydney Rabbitohs. Straight off the bat, this one is a no play for mine. It's something that I don't want to get into, simply because when a team is facing adversity, like what the Parramatta Eels are facing, you never know how they're going to respond. I would say most of the time when a team is copping crap in the media, or they've done something wrong, they're in the dirt for something, they will come out and play a very good brand of footy and generally get a win. However, the Rabbitohs have their back up against the wall too. They're in trouble. They've had Chris Grevesmore walk out of them. The Bunnies are coming 12th, which for them is just not good enough, and they know they're going to really need to get a win. So we're going to have 2 teams who are playing for a lot. They're going to be desperate. The Eels, they've both got different motives. I mean, obviously they both want to win the game, but the Eels are kind of trying to clear their heads and put all this salary cap drama behind them, and the Rabbitohs are really trying to pick up on some form and get a much-needed win. When 2 desperate teams are clashing against each other like this, Pertex Stadium on a Friday night, I don't know what's going to happen. I think that the Eels, if they play like what they have been throughout the whole season, they should be able to get a win, but I just don't know. I can't put my finger on what's going to happen, and therefore I'm not going to make a play on the game at all. The next game, however, if I was to lean on that Eels-Rabbitohs game, the under 40.5 total match points is something I do like. Maybe for a 10 or a $20, or a 0.25 stakes, depending on how you're betting. Next game, Penrith Panthers versus the New Zealand Warriors. This one is being played from AMI Stadium, which I believe is in Christchurch. It's in New Zealand. So really, the Panthers are listed as a home team, but it may not really be a home field advantage for them because the Warriors actually are travelling less of a distance away from their home than what the Panthers are. However, the reason I like the Panthers is because I just think the Panthers are such an underrated team. They are, I believe, on the brink of the top 8. They're coming 8th right now, and I think they could be 2nd or 1st, 3rd or 4th. They've had a lot of narrow losses. We all know the statistics of how the Panthers have always had these close losses, and they keep getting in these close situations and just can't come through in the end. Well, I think all of these good performances, they're going to start getting rewarded by them. Rewarded for them, rather. The Panthers have a very well-rounded team, top to bottom. The Warriors, they have had some pullouts, some injuries. They've had disgruntled, players, Manu Vatuvei, Conrad Hurrell. I don't like what's happening with the Warriors right now. Although they did step up and have a spirited kind of effort against the Dragons, I'm now thinking that was just a case of the Dragons were really so bad. The Warriors have Jeff Robson, Matt Allwood, Sione Lassie, and Toa Fofai Sipley out. The ins for the Warriors, Ben Matalino, Bodine Thompson, Thomas Luluai, and Tumalai Loahea. They are 4 very, very, very big ins for the Warriors, and it's going to make this a harder proposition for the Panthers. However, Manu Vatuvei is not playing. Conrad Hurrell is not playing. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck is not playing. So some of the players that they kind of... I wouldn't say Conrad Hurrell, but Manu Vatuvei is such an important part of this team. And Roger Tuivasa-Sheck was a big kind of off-season signing and tied in with a lot of the things that they wanted to do offensively this season. So I think that without him, they are going to struggle for the rest of the year. The Panthers, their only in is Wanga Blake. He's going to go straight in and start in the centres, which is going to put Isaiah Yeo into the back row. I just think this Panthers team is really well drilled, top to bottom. Jamie Soward, Peter Wallace, James Seguiaro. They're looking healthy. Bryce Cartwright. If you look through the team, they really should win this game. And I know that it's dangerous going against a team like the Warriors who are playing at home. But generally, well, they're not at home, but they are at home, if you get what I'm saying. Generally, the Warriors, they're a bit like the Raiders. Lose, win, whatever. So I think that the Panthers are going to be able to just outclass them. Normally, I would pick an over total match points in Warriors games. However, there's something about the Panthers' style of play this year that's kind of pushing me away from that. The Panthers are playing a different brand of footy. They're grinding a little bit more. They're playing some more defence. And they're not scoring as many points as what I'm accustomed to seeing from the Panthers. I really like the way they're playing. And I think that's going to pose some problems for the Warriors this weekend, who might get a little bit frustrated in attack. And I don't quite think they have the class across the pitch as what the Panthers have. A little bit more inconsistency about their lineup than what I see on the Panthers team. I really like the Panthers. We took them 2 weeks ago at a price very similar to this, and we're going to do the exact same thing and back them in to win. This pick is going for 1.5 stakes. Now the next game after this is the Melbourne Storm playing host to the North Queensland Cowboys. However, it's at Suncorp Stadium. We've got 3 games on Saturday that are very deceptive in regards to who's playing at home, because you've got the Panthers, who are listed as a home team at AMI Stadium, which is in New Zealand, and you've got Melbourne and Manly listed as home teams in a doubleheader at Suncorp, which is in Brisbane. And they're playing host to 2 Queensland teams, Melbourne and Manly, so I really don't understand how that works. But Melbourne, the home team, welcoming the Cowboys to Brisbane, sounds a little bit strange. The Cowboys are a favourite, as if they would be an underdog. The Cowboys are a favourite by about 6.5 points. And basically what I'm going to do with this game, there's a double header on, so I'm going to put a double bet on. And the double bet will be simple. It's going to be the North Queensland Cowboys plus the Brisbane Broncos, both of them to win, $1.71 at William Hill for 2 stakes. And that's something I really like. Let me talk to you about these 2 games, okay? Because I know that a lot of people are going to be looking at the Melbourne Storm and thinking, they might be a really good shot as an underdog here. They haven't conceded a single point in their last 2 meetings. They've got a good record against the Cowboys, 120, lost 10 overall. They've got a quality team. They have an unchanged team from last week. But I said to myself about 3 or 4 weeks ago, do not fade the Cowboys. The Cowboys, they are playing at an incredible level right now. They've got so many good players across the park. They have the best player in the NRL in Jonathan Thurston, who I believe is closely followed by Cooper Cronk, but no one is doing what Jonathan Thurston is doing right now. The Melbourne Storm have a very well-structured team. They've got Cameron Munster at the back, who's doing a lot of good things in replacement of Billy Slater. They've got Cooper Cronk and Cameron Smith, who have this incredible rapport and always, are steering the team across the park and making things look pretty. But the thing about the Storm is, they just don't have the punch that the Cowboys have. They're missing Mareka Koroibete, which I do believe hurts them a lot. But when you look at some of the positional comparisons in this game, for example, the backline of the Storm is, starting from number 5 going to number 1, the backline of the Storm is Chase Blair, Ben Hampton, Tohu Harris, Suliasi Vunivalu, who's playing very well, scored 6 tries already, and then Cameron Munster at the back. And if you look at the Cowboys 5 to 1, Antonio Winterstein, Kane Linnett, Justin O'Neill, Kyle Felt, Lachlan Coote. These guys have been playing together all season. They're all in great form. Let's see how many tries are between all of them. 9, 6, 15, 7. So 22 tries between these 5 players. And you've got Michael Morgan and Jonathan Thurston in the halves. The Storm halfback is Blake Green. Quality player, complements Cooper Cronk very well, but is nowhere near the player that Michael Morgan is. Let's look at the front row of the Melbourne Storm. Jordan McLean and Jesse Bromwich. These 2 players are good players, right? A good pairing. Jesse Bromwich is a great player. But then the Cowboys have Matthew Scott and James Tarmow. The Cowboys' back row is Gavin Cooper, Ethan Lowe, and Jason Taumalolo. The best back row in the NRL, bar none, in my opinion. The Storm have Kevin Proctor, Felice Kafusi, and Dale Finucane. There's just not enough personnel in this Storm team to match what the Cowboys are going to bring to the table. I think that the Storm are a very, very good team. They are my pick for the premiership. We got them at 13 to 1 after round 3, and I think that when they get Koroibete back from injury, that he makes such a big difference to their team. You don't understand. I know he's a winger, but I think he does so much for them. When they get Koroibete back, they're going to be able to, this guy, Mareka Koroibete, he can create something from nothing, whether it's bringing the ball out of his own half, whether it's catching the ball on the end of a backline movement 20 metres out. I think he provides such an X factor for their team, right? So they get Mareka Koroibete back in the wing position. They then get back Will Chambers, who I think is the most underrated centre in the NRL. They get Will Chambers back in the centres. They get Tohu Harris in the back row, where he is obviously much more comfortable. And then the Storm are looking like being a much better team, I believe, with those 2 players in their back line. Okay? When they get back those 2 players, I think they can make a world of difference for the Storm, because they're the players they need, that punch they need, that point-scoring ability they need. Because the Storm, although they've scored a lot of points in their last 2 games, they haven't looked excellent with the ball in hand this season. And that's exactly what the Cowboys have looked. The Cowboys are so well-rounded, incredible attacking team, incredible defensive team. Their team 1 to 13 is literally perfect. People are thinking this is a good chance to take the Storm head-to-head or even with the plus 6 points. I'm telling you that the Cowboys cannot be bet against. They cannot be bet against. They're too good. They are too good. Jonathan Thurston, Michael Morgan, Lachlan Coote, Jason Taumalolo, just to name 4 of their players. Okay? They've got class like Ben Hannett and Scott Bolton on the bench, 2 very experienced players. The Cowboys aren't to be messed with. They're not to be messed with. Simple as that. I wouldn't bet against them, and I'm not going to do it in this game. That's enough for the Cowboys. I will move on, but you've heard my take on the Cowboys. The Storm, quality team, well-drilled team, but they're just missing a couple of pieces right now, and it's going to cost them in this game against the Cowboys team. That is literally scalding hot. Game after that, the Manly Sea Eagles playing host to the Brisbane Broncos in Brisbane. A little bit strange, but this is the second match of the doubleheader, and the Manly Sea Eagles, rightly so, are a big underdog. They're coming into this game paying $4.85 at Sportsbet. The Broncos are $1.20, and we're going to go with the Broncos here, head-to-head. Now, I'm looking through here. Manly have a pretty good record against the Broncos, actually. In fact, I will tell you exactly what their record is against the Broncos, and I think you'll be a little bit surprised by it. Here we go. Let's just go into it, and I'll catch my breath after that rant regarding the Cowboys. 14 wins for Manly, 9 wins for Brisbane, and 1 draw in 24 games. And let's look at the team lists now. Blake Leary and Brett Stewart come in for Manly. They've got no outs. And Alex Glenn will be missing for the Brisbane Broncos. Now, the Broncos team were a little bit, I'd say they were exposed to some extent at Cronulla a couple of weeks ago. Anthony Milford in particular didn't look as comfortable as what he normally does. But, I've said this to a lot of people. It's very, 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 very hard to go to Cronulla and get a win. And I backed the Broncos, and that was part of the losing that we had last week, because I did back the Broncos. But, the Sharks really surprised me there. We have a big wager on the Sharks to make the top 8 this season. We got it at $1.90 for 4 stakes at the beginning of the year. It's currently paying $1.04. So that bet can be labelled a winner already. The Sharks are a very good team, and they proved to me that they were a little bit better than what I thought they were. Now, Brisbane, I don't think they're in a position where they're going to lose 2 games in a row. They are a powerhouse at Suncorp Stadium. They've beaten the Cowboys at Suncorp Stadium, the team who I just ranted about for 5 minutes. And I think that here against a Manly Seagulls team, they're going to get a win quite comfortably. I like Manly as a team, but I think that they are still a little bit behind the 8 ball. Their combinations aren't really in the swing yet, because Daly Cherry Evans has missed a bit of footy. Dylan Walker's still finding his feet as a half. Brett Stewart's been in and out of the team. There's just not enough chemistry yet for mine. They're a dangerous proposition for anyone at Brookvale, but I don't think that Manly are ready to go into Brisbane and get a win. I think they're going to lose this one by double digits. And I'll leave it at that. So right now, I've got a time limit. I've got 9 minutes left. And we've got 3 games to talk about. And we've only got a bet for one of them, so I can get through this pretty quickly. On Sunday, the Newcastle Knights playing host to the Cronulla Sharks. Now, the Newcastle Knights are the worst team in the competition. The ladder indicates that. And the personnel that they have indicates that too. It's a real shame for the Newcastle Knights, because they've got such a passionate group of supporters up there at Newcastle. But their team just isn't good enough. It's a shame, but it's just not good enough. And it didn't help them at all when they lost Jared Mullen. Went down with a hamstring injury. They've got Brock Lamb in 5'8", who I know is a promising young player. But he's a bit of a deer in the headlights, I think, in this Newcastle Knights team. He will get better with experience, but when he's going against James Maloney and Chad Townsend, I don't believe that he's going to be able to outplay them with Trent Hodkinson. I don't think that Hodkinson and Lamb are going to be able to do enough against this really in-form halves combination of James Maloney and Chad Townsend. Sharks are a very, very good team. I am a little bit wary of the Knights potentially coming out and giving this one a real good crack, which is why I haven't taken the Sharks to win or anything related to a Sharks win. The Knights have a 20 and 12 record against the Sharks all time in 32 games. One thing I do think that's going to happen in this game is we're going to see points. I think that normally that's a pretty dry track up there in Newcastle. The Sharks' attack is really solid right now. And what the total is on Bet365 is 42.5. And what we're going to do is we're going to buy that total down to 40.5 at $1.66. And we're going to play it for a single stake. I think that the Sharks have 20, 25, even 30 points in them. I remember in my head, let me think, the last time that the Sharks played the Knights in Newcastle, I believe, the Sharks won 30 points to 28. I can't get that out of my head. I think we're in for a bit of a back and forth game here with a lot of tries. If we get the track required, if we get the weather required in Newcastle, I think that the Sharks could really be in a point scoring mood. And I think the Knights have got a couple of tries in them at home as well. I think this one's going to go over, but we've only got one stake on it. Okay, it's not a very strong play, but it is my favourite play for Sunday. And I thought I would give you guys one pick for Sunday, because that's it. That's all we've got for the entire round. I've got nothing for the Tigers-Bulldogs game, and I've got nothing for the Titans-Roosters game. So there's 3 games that I don't have a play in. Let's talk about the Tigers-Bulldogs game really quickly. The Bulldogs, so inconsistent. What's going to happen with them? I don't know how they're going to play week in, week out. They've failed to string together consecutive wins since rounds 1 and 2. Their form guide has ebbed and flowed ever since. And the Tigers, they were really good 2 weeks ago against the Rabbitohs. And now they have so much potential. When they get a roll on during a game, they can pose threats to anyone. So I don't know what's going to happen in this one. And the Roosters, even though they had such a good win against the Knights in their last game, they've got an away trip at the Titans, who I still rate as quite a gutsy, quite a strong footy side. And they're going in there as a 6.5 point favourite. It's not something I want to jump on. I'm not red hot on the Roosters bandwagon just yet. They need to do a little bit more. So that's it. They're the picks. That's me. I've spoken about all the games. Raiders head-to-head on Thursday night. Panthers head-to-head on Saturday night. We've got a 2-team parlay, North Queensland and Brisbane. And then on Sunday, we've got the over 40.5 total match points between the Knights and the Sharks. They're the 5 picks. I hope you get on them. I hope we win. Hey, and if we don't, remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. We've got 26 rounds to get this done. We're plus 27 stakes on the year. Things are only going to get better. I'm working harder. I'm crunching numbers. I'm improving. And I'm having a great time. And I hope you are too. Jake Humphrey's Platinum Sports Picks. Thanks for listening.